What's up? What's up, everybody? Hey, good morning or good afternoon for those who are in the Midwest and on the East Coast. It's AJ with Launchpad, and just want to welcome you guys to another great episode of This Week in Workforce Development. As you know, this show, we film it live here from Orange County, California, and I'm really excited about today's episode. First of all, I want to thank everybody who watched last week's episode. We've gotten so many hits on YouTube, and what I think is really exciting is the opportunity for us to share these ideas and get these ideas out there to the workforce development community and really transform and change these communities, creating opportunities for people and sharing some of these ideas. So I appreciate you guys tuning in, whether you checked it out live or whether you are going to YouTube and checking it out later, whether you're watching it on your smartphone. I just appreciate you guys checking it out. So a couple things I want to start with, and then we're going to jump into the main call or the main episode here is my favorite time of the year is coming. It's happening. It is college football season is upon us. Well, about to be upon us. This weekend, the first game, my Oregon Ducks. This is another year. We got another chance. Last year was a little upsetting, but I'm excited about this year. So go Ducks, go Oregon. Sorry for those of you throughout the country. I know there's some Badger fans out there. I know there's some Bruin fans out there. I know there's some Stanford fans out there. I know there are some Ohio State fans out there. So I apologize, but hey, I got to root for the home state. So Ducks all the way this year. Had to get that out of the way. All right. So today, during the last episode, we had a lot of questions that came in before we broadcast, and a lot of those questions were about, clients. We have hundreds of clients and users on our platform, and the question was, what types of tricks, what types of strategies can we use to be more efficient in business services? And I would say we got a lot of questions about that, and I thought it was interesting because what's exciting is that folks are using our technology in different ways, and this show is not about selling. I don't really want to promote our platform. We get a lot of publicity on that. We get a lot of marketing and promotions. So I don't want to try to make this show about promoting one specific technology, whether it's ours or somebody else's. I want to talk about sharing best practices and sharing best ideas. So I'm going to avoid trying to give specific tricks on our platform. We can set up times to do other calls. I really want to give strategies. But what I thought of is, how can I give you guys tips and strategies as business services representatives, as job developers, in a way that you guys can use these strategies no matter whether you're using our platform or you're not, you can use these strategies. That's my goal. So I thought about some tips and tricks that may apply to our system, our technology, but also could apply just out there in the general that you guys can take away. For those of you who may not be using our platform, but want to get the value of this webinar. So without any further ado, I'm going to jump into it. I got my notes here on my other monitor. There's three things I want to talk about today. The first thing, one of the tips and tricks that we're going to talk about is email and email marketing. And it's super important that all of the business services and job developer representatives out there, that you guys are effectively using email, because I'll tell you what, business is changing. It's the way employers are buying, services, workforce services, staffing services is changing. You got to be able to use email effectively. So we're going to talk, number one, about that. Number two, we're going to talk about social selling. I kind of previewed that in our first episode. I gave you a quick little preview of social selling, and I'm just really excited about the whole concept. It's something I've been doing, pretty much my whole career informally, but it's now really becoming a genre. I don't want to say a trend, because I think it's really going to be long lasting, but it's now really becoming one of the primary ways that you can engage with businesses, business to business relationship development through social selling. And then the third topic that we're going to talk about, is how do you manage your funnel? And I'm going to even explain to you what is a funnel, what is funnel management. Okay. So we're going to cover these three things, but I think, the one takeaway that I want to give everybody here is that, workforce development has got to be all about demand driven. All right. It's got to be about job driven strategies. And I still go out to workforce agencies, and I still kind of, I see agencies that are still doing the supply driven way. while even the economy is picking up. So I'm hopeful that these strategies and these tactics and tips and hacks, whatever you want to call them, right? I'm hopeful that they're continuing to move the conversation more towards demand-driven and truly connecting with businesses, because that's, if we can effectively do that, we can get more people back to work, and we can help more people that are in need, because we can educate them, train them on the best ways to get into a job and into the job market. And you can become more effective at helping these job seekers that have multiple barriers get into a job by learning these strategies. So that being said, let's talk about email marketing. All right. I have a love-hate relationship with email. And what I mean by that is I don't like to read a lot of emails. I don't like, I tell you the truth, I check my emails twice a day, in the morning and at the end of the day. Throughout the day, I will look, and peruse real quickly to see if any of our clients are on there, if they sent me anything. But if it's not, if it's not a client, and if it's not, if it's marketing, or if it's, a partner, or, anything else, I pretty much ignore it till the end of the day. And then I go through all my emails and I filter out the ones I don't like. I filter out the spam. I filter out the marketing. I filter out these things. And so what's happened, though, is that email, even though I have a love-hate relationship, the reality is it's the best way to communicate with me and to connect with me, particularly if you're getting referred to me, or you're trying to get business, or you're trying to get me to hire people. Because the reality is I don't even use my office phone. You call here in the office, it's going to go either to my voicemail, or someone in the office is going to pick it up and take a message. You text me, you'll reach me. I pick up the phone for those, business contacts who I know on caller ID, but I really try to protect my time. And so I think as job developers and business services, we've really got to be using email more intelligently. And I think one of the things that makes me cringe when I see folks using email, I think the thing that makes me cringe the most is that we send out these mass email announcements to the whole world, right? We send out, hey, we're doing a hiring fair, and you send it out to everybody. Or, hey, here's a lengthy email of all the marketing words that we could possibly put into one email, and I'm going to send it out, an email blast out to all my employers. This is like the major don't do that, okay? Stop doing that, because you're spamming employers. But you can use email very effectively, especially if you have a CRM system, okay? So if you're using a CRM system like a Launchpad, Salesforce, or Microsoft, or there's a bunch of them out there, right? All of them have great ways to use email. And let me tell you how we use email today and how I've used email in the past. Number one is I'm always, whenever I would track my businesses, and I advise and I work with recruiters these days and job developers, you have to be tracking your businesses and collecting specific information. And the most important thing is you need to be categorizing all of your businesses. Number one, you need to categorize the businesses by industry. Number two, you need to categorize all your contacts by industry. And number three, you've got to categorize all your contacts by buyer persona. And for those of you who've been to my training, you know what I mean by buyer persona. In the employment market, there are really three main buyers, right? You've got the recruiter or the staffing person, you've got the HR person, and you've got the hiring manager personas. And they're interested in different things. But you want to start developing your database and organizing and structuring your database this way so that later on you can market to them. So the first tip with email marketing is, if you don't have a good list, if you don't have a qualified list of contacts who you've engaged with and who know you, you can't market out to them. So that's number one. Number two is you've got to start to you've got to understand what tools are the best tools for email marketing. And so there's really three tools that I want to talk about when it comes to email marketing. Again, a lot of these CRM systems and some of the case management systems have a built-in mass email system. For instance, Launchpad, we've got a built-in mass email system. And so if I've got my list of employers, let's say I've got employers that are by high tech, I've got healthcare employers, manufacturing employers, and I've got business services employers or financial services, whatever, right? There's all these different industries. But I've got them segmented by those categories. I've got the contacts within those organizations segmented. What I can start to do is I can start to promote information out to them that's within context, okay? And what I mean by context is I can start to send information out to them that is relevant to what they want to know. So if I'm working with a high-tech industry, like for instance here in Southern California, the tech coast, we got high-tech companies everywhere. I know Silicon Valley gets all the love, but the reality is tech coast is where it's going on down here. So we have a lot of technology companies. They're hiring a lot of people, and if I wanted to market out to them, I might keep an email distribution list of all my high-tech employers, and maybe once a month I might just do a subtle drip campaign and say, hey, here's a really interesting article I found out about IT recruiting, or here's an interesting article that I found about how to hire better IT professionals, or here's an article about how you train IT professionals quickly, and just different things. And I don't try to market those IT folks. I just try to do, or those IT companies, I just try to do a drip campaign out to them. Because my goal, especially in workforce development, you guys, is we've got to be building awareness in the marketplace about what we do. Because all the studies and surveys show that businesses have a very low awareness of the workforce system, which really, at the end of the day, really bothers me, because I know that you offer a lot of value and you really make a difference. But we can't make a difference if we don't get employers to hire, and if we don't get more employees out there, right? Because oftentimes we're working with the hardest to work with employers versus the best employers. So creating this ongoing drip campaign, utilizing different tools. Now, the tools you can use, as going back to that, some of the CRM systems such as Salesforce and Launchpad have a built-in mass email system. So I can go run a list and email those folks out and send them a template. And the other great thing is I can track within the system who I sent that email to. Now, a couple of other great tools that I really like. Well, one that I won't want to say I really like, but one that also works, and then another one that I really like. There's Gmail and Outlook, right? So you may be using Gmail as your corporate email, or you're using Outlook, and most of these systems have integration with those. And the benefit of that is if I'm doing a one-to-one email to an employer, it's going to note that information, right? There's no rocket science there. I'm not teaching you guys anything new. But you can start to use Gmail and Outlook to do mass email. So if you don't have a CRM system, you can use Gmail and Google Docs to send out mass emails to client lists, organized maybe by different sectors that you have, maybe in a spreadsheet if you don't have something as sophisticated as a CRM or a case management system. But one of the tools I really want to talk about today, which I'm really excited about and really interested in sharing with you, is the mass email systems, the mass email engines. And the ones that I really like in particular, now we've used Constant Contact for many years. It's been very good. It's like the tried and true system. I think it's great for businesses. It's great for government and nonprofit. And your emails get open because Constant Contact doesn't allow spamming. It's great. And neither does some of the other large email systems. But we just recently moved over to a new system called, and I know the name of this is funny, but MailChimp. And it's funny, you got SurveyMonkey, MailChimp, and it's like all the different primates in the animal kingdom named for technology companies. But we started using MailChimp, and I really like MailChimp because, one, it fully integrates with our platform, fully integrates with Salesforce. The other great thing is that when I send emails out to our contacts in our database, segmented by groups, it does a couple of things. It lets me know who's received the email or whether it got bounced back. It also lets me know who opened that email, and then it also lets me know if they forwarded the email. Now think of that. That is like super powerful information that you can leverage as a business services rep. Because let's say you've got a target group of contacts within a business, and you're trying to market to that group, and you're trying to get out to that employer, and you send them emails, and you notice they're opening the emails, you notice they're forwarding the emails. One of the things you can do is give them a phone call and say, hey, I sent you an email earlier. I wanted to follow up with you on that. This is how email and technology is really helping break down those barriers and those gatekeepers to get to an employer. Because let's say you send out 100 emails and 10 of them get opened. You don't have to call all 100 of those employers that you emailed. Just call the 10 that opened your email, right? Because they're going to remember you. It's going to be fresh for them. And if they forwarded it, maybe 5 of them opened and forwarded, call those 5. So that's a big time hack, because the trick to that is, and this is techniques that we've learned from different business to business selling strategies. But what we're trying to do is we're trying to connect and communicate with our businesses and employers, and we're trying to figure out the best ways to connect with them and really minimize. We don't want to waste their time. We don't want to intrude. And these are great ways to do that. So this segues into the next topic, which is social selling. Okay, so once you get email down, right, you got to get the email marketing down. But once you get email marketing down, the next thing, which I'm super excited about, guys, is, and I really think that this is something that can help public sector, nonprofit, and workforce development, is social selling. First of all, let me define what social selling is, okay? Social selling is basically connecting with business contacts, creating an online network where you are networking with them, socializing with them online, on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on Twitter, and you're sharing information with them, right? Because think of it as offline networking. In offline networking, if you're at a business function, you're not going up to an employer or recruiter and saying, hey, you know, come work with us. You're not pitching them on the spot, you're developing the relationship. And because businesses have gotten so sophisticated in weeding out the noise, and the internet has made it incredibly easy to self-educate on any topic, businesses don't need a salesperson. They don't need a job developer knocking down their door. They don't. So how do you get to the executives in these businesses, the hiring managers? You develop a network online and you leverage social selling. And the social selling is a great catchphrase, which I learned a while back, which is you want to reach and you want to teach. Okay, so you want to reach people online and you want to teach them, because in today's modern business environment, businesses, they don't want to be sold to, but they do want to be educated. And I think because there is such a low adoption in workforce development, there's such a low adoption of workforce development for businesses, that by you going out and reaching and educating businesses online, like I'm doing right now, I'm reaching, you know, dozens of people throughout the country right now. And in addition to that, this video is going to be syndicated and online, and people will watch it, and we'll get hundreds of views on that. We're already up to you know, over 50 views on the other video, right? So, you know, I'm reaching and teaching, and I love to do this because I love to share information that I've learned, strategies that have worked for me, and really, you know, helping workforce development become more efficient. So what you want to be doing in social selling is, number one, you've got to establish your brand. So you've got to, everyone out there, every job developer must have a LinkedIn profile. But it's very important. Your LinkedIn profile should not say this, you know, I'm the best job developer out there and I crushed my quota while, you know, working in the staffing industry. Or, you know, I'm looking for this job while I'm working at this, you know, nonprofit. Or, you know, or nothing at all, right? You have like, hi, my name's Abe. That should not be your LinkedIn profile. Your LinkedIn profile should speak to your customer base. And when I mean customer base in the demand-driven model, those are my air quotes, by the way. I'm not a big air quote user, so I don't know how to do it well. Anyways, in the demand-driven model, your customer is the employer. And so your LinkedIn profile must speak to the employer and their needs, okay? So you should be developing a profile that has information about how you're gonna help employers in your area overcome skill gaps, labor shortages, high turnover, hiring, you know, layoff aversion or issues, you know, with layoff and WARN notices. How are you helping the business community? And as you build that reputation online, you're going to get more employers reaching out to you because the services you offer are amazing. I mean, how could a staffing agency compete with free? They can't. But the reality is, as many of us in this workforce industry are not offering great value, and so free is not a value, right? Poor value, I won't pay, you know, no one will pay for poor value, right? In fact, I'll pay you money to leave me alone if you're offering poor value. But if you're able to start offering value, reaching and teaching, and then you say, hey, my services are free, there's no reason and there's no way that staffing agencies should be able to compete. And I don't think I'm trying to put staffing agencies out of business. I want to get back into the staffing industry. I'm actually looking at evaluating opportunities right now to, you know, possibly start another staffing company. But I think the reality is that there's going to be a market for them, but there's a market for you, and you've got to reach and teach businesses to do that. So how do you teach businesses in workforce development? How do you do that? Well, the best way I think to do it is through content, right? I'd love to see workforce agencies starting to host webinars, starting to blog more. I think as you're starting to see budgets, you know, some workforce agencies have either downsized business services, which I think is crazy, or they've shifted that responsibility or expanded that responsibility to the case management staff, which I think is smart. Everybody in the workforce branch, from the executive director down to the business services manager to the case manager, everybody should be talking to businesses, calling on businesses, and trying to place people. I think it's the job for everybody. So if you are a business services or a job development rep, you've got to figure out a way that you can get the message out to employers, teach them through your online network, sharing content on LinkedIn, sharing it on Twitter, sharing it via email. And one of the easiest ways is to curate content. What that means is to go out there and find information. You don't have to create the articles or the blogs, the webinars. You may find something on YouTube. You may find something on, on a blog post on LinkedIn. Share that if it's relevant and in context to your business community and your employers. Share it with them and give them that information. And what that's going to do is that it's going to start to brand you as a subject matter expert. And when they have hiring needs, they're going to reach out to you for help. So social selling, you guys, it's all about reach and teach, okay? So I want to jump into the next topic here. I'm going to take a sip of agua here. It's in short supply in California. There's probably about 4 of these in the whole state. So I gotta make sure I drink mine while I can. We're still in a heavy drought, y'all. So gotta drink more water. So the next topic that I want to talk about is, now that you've done this email marketing, now that you're engaged with employers, now that you're using social selling and you're tracking people and you're sharing information, the next key thing, and this is kind of an oldie but goodie, and I think this is probably this is a true hack, this is a true system-oriented tip that folks can use, which is the job order funnel. And many of our clients have this. It's a report that can be generated. It's a funnel, right? And it shows at the top the job orders that have just come in the system, and it shows at the bottom the placements that you've made. And I think this is the most powerful report and most powerful tool that business services can use to drive outcomes. And how do I know this? I used it. I used it in my staffing business. I used it when we were consulting with job development and when we were doing a job development here in LA. And I've used it with other clients where they've used it. And I know it works. And what it does basically is, oftentimes we have job order information in our email. We've got job order information on our desktop computer. We got job order information in papers. I got papers all over the place, and it's not organized. So you got to be putting it in your system to track. Do it once a week. I update our system once a week. I know you're out there. I know you're busy, and I don't think anybody has time to go in there and use it every single day. Some people use their system, and I see you guys on Chatter and in system. I know you use it every single day. However often you use it, update your job orders. That's the most important thing as a business services person you can do. I like to quickly enter my job orders in the system, and the only things I really need to know is, what are the number of jobs that I've got, who's the employer, all of that, basic information. But I associate a stage with every job order that's in the system. And the reason I do that is I want to know, it's kind of like looking at my pipeline and saying, okay, Monday morning comes around, what jobs do we have? What's our priority? And for business services teams, this really helps you focus, because number one, you're able to take a quick snapshot and say, wow, we got a ton of jobs in last week. It looks like we got 10 new jobs last week, and we've got 5 new jobs that are in interview stage. What it allows you to do is really focus your resource and say, wow, we got 10 new jobs. We need to get interviews set up. Let's schedule a recruitment or hiring event. Let's set up an on-site recruitment event. Let's get people out to these employers. But let's say you've got a pipeline where you've only got 1 or 2 new jobs, but you've got 10 people in the interview stage. What should your focus be? Obviously, your focus needs to be on closing those existing positions right now. And so you would want to have your business services team getting on the phone with the employer and saying, hey, I know you interviewed 5, 10 people last week. How do I get you, what do we need to do to close this and get those people hired? As you start using your job order funnel on a weekly basis, what you're going to start seeing immediately, the first week, is you're going to start to see outcomes start to increase, okay? Because you're now focused on the priorities. You're not running around, putting out fires and all this other stuff, right? We got a busy case file. We've got all kinds of things going on. And what's happening is we're getting distracted from the business process, the efficient process, and the funnel. And I think, nonprofit and government, we get stuck in this because we're not sales driven, right? Like a business, they're looking at their funnel like with a laser-like focus. I know business owners, entrepreneurs, every day they're looking at their funnel because they know that that funnel equates to increased sales, increased revenues, increased opportunity to hire more people, increased benefit to their customers. But from the nonprofit and government side, we don't look at it that way. So oftentimes sometimes we take our eye off the ball. So the funnel allows you to get back to focus. It allows you to say, what's important this week? What do we need to focus on? And if you've got a lot of jobs in different stages of that funnel, you can target your energies, rally your resources, pull your teams together, pull your partners together to get those jobs filled. The other thing too is that you want to make sure that you've got the right stages. And I've just listed a couple of stages on this blog. I'm going to send this out to you guys later on this week. But I think at minimum you need the following stages in your funnel. Number one, you need to have a funnel that's like job leads. These are jobs that are out there, but you haven't necessarily secured them. You're working them. You're trying to get them from an employer. Number two, you've got job order taken. That's the next level in the funnel. And those are the ones that's like fresh jobs. You've got to get going on those. And then the next phase you can have is you can either have submittals or you can have a stage which is interviews. And then after that, you've got job offers, background checks, and placement. You can have as many stages as you want. As you guys know with the systems, you can change those stages and update them. But at the end of the day, you've got to have this linear process in your funnel so you can manage all these new job orders that you guys are going to be getting and you are getting because you're doing email marketing and social selling and all these other things. So I wanted to bring that up and talk with you guys about that. I also want to open it up for questions. If there's any questions that anybody has, I'm opening the Q&A right now. And if you want to ask a question, the best way to ask questions, it looks like somebody already did, best way to ask a question is if you have a Gmail or a Google account, you can go in and sign in, and then it'll allow you to ask a question. So the first question here is, I'm going to select it. How much do you need to tell about yourself by way of intro when you start sending emails with article links, etc.? How do you get them to think you might have something to offer without overwhelming them with info about the workforce system? And this is from Sue Gleason, our good friend out in Wisconsin. Sue, that's a terrific question. And a couple of things you want to do is, first, the people that you're connecting with are people that you should have some type of a relationship. And I think new relationship development should be happening online through either referrals or LinkedIn networks. I mean, if you've got a really good job developer that knows how to call in and make that cold call, by all means, if that's working for them, do that. But I think if that's not working, as they're on LinkedIn, they're connecting with new people, they can start to, as they add people to their network, they've kind of already made that introduction. So let's say, for example, I have an employer, and that employer has a contact at another business that I want to get my foot in the door. I can either ask that employer for a referral, or I can email that business and say just a really quick, and I like Twitter-sized emails, right? I think your question is, how big should that email be? The first email should be very basic, and it should be, hey, John, hey, Jane, I work with one of your colleagues at such and such company. I just wanted to introduce myself and send you my contact information. We provide workforce development solutions. Whatever your value prop is, keep it literally 2 to 3 sentences max, but don't, just keep it real subtle. Because the next goal, the next step is you want to start, you don't even know if that employer is qualified, if there's someone you want to work with. So you've got to start work. It takes time to develop and cultivate, but if you take the time and do it right, you get better relationships, better educated employers that can better utilize the workforce services. So the next thing you do is you say, now that you've maybe made that initial contact and they've added you as a contact on LinkedIn, and you add them in Salesforce, obviously you update that information in your CRM system. The next thing you do, go back in 1 week, 2 weeks, and send them an article. And you remember, maybe that business now falls into your category of healthcare companies, right? So I've got this business, I'm going to add him to my list of healthcare companies. I've got 20 companies in that sector that I'm working with. I may find a really interesting article about nursing staffing or nursing recruiting or whatever. And I send that article, I post that article online, and then I send it to him or her, and I say, hey, I thought you might be interested in this, just a passive little, message there. And then later on, what I might do is say, hey, John or Jane, we're going to be hosting a webinar here at the South Central Workforce Development Board, and we're going to be talking about how healthcare companies can increase recruitment efforts and hire more nurses or train more nurses, or share with you our training programs, or technical college is going to come out and talk about their program. These different tips. And what happens is you may invite 20 people and 5 of them show up. And then those 5 who show up, I guarantee you they're going to have needs, hiring needs. They're going to bring their job orders with them. This is how you get your foot in the door with employers. It's a passive approach. It's developing relationship. It's subtle. It's reaching and teaching. So great question. I think just to summarize, Sue, and to the audience, you don't want to be selling anything in your emails. You're reaching and teaching. Educate them, but do it in small bite-sized amounts, and invite them out to do webinars. Invite them to events. Be social, because as you do that, you're going to start creating that network that's going to refer you, and it's going to be organic, and folks are going to share your information. And pretty soon you're going to have employers calling you saying, wow, I didn't even know workforce development existed, and we'd like to use your services. So great question. Thank you, guys. And I think I've got one other question here that came in via email. Yes, what are the best social networks to use for workforce development? So, gosh, hands down, I think LinkedIn is the best social network. So as I talked about earlier, you guys, you gotta have your social profile on LinkedIn set up. LinkedIn is the market leader by a wide margin in social networking for businesses here in the United States. There are other networks, internationally and globally, but LinkedIn is hands down the best one. Twitter is cool, but I don't think Twitter is all that great, because at least in my for workforce development, because it's really, Twitter's great for building a broad audience, and especially if you're like a big thought leader, or you're Donald Trump, or if you're sorry for putting Donald Trump out there, he's politicized now, but he's like a huge celebrity also, or you're Kim Kardashian. Twitter makes sense for that. But I think in really reaching and teaching and connecting, LinkedIn is great. Facebook is good if you really develop relationships. I have clients that add me on Facebook. I welcome that. But those are clients that I've worked with for years. We've got relationships. We go out and have lunch and dinner, and we network, we golf, we do those types of things. So I think LinkedIn is the best one. Start there. You're going to get a lot of mileage out of that. And you can connect, you can leverage LinkedIn a lot of different ways. There's a lot of different tools and ways to do that. I think another cool tool, which I'm just going to toss out there and then wrap this up, is there's a website called Quora, and it's Quora. I think I should know this because I'm always on it. Quora. I got it right the first time. Quora is an online question and answer platform. And what it allows you to do is it allows you to post questions and let the web, the network, answer those questions. And it also gives you opportunities to go in and answer questions. So it's great for you. There are different forums. You can ask questions about HR, recruiting, staffing, all these different things, and start to connect with people about topics related to workforce development, staffing, recruiting, answer questions. For instance, an HR person may post a question in Quora that says, how can I reduce turnover at our business? And you can answer that question. And then you can connect with that person on LinkedIn. So I like Quora. I think it's really cool. I think it's great for business. It's really cutting edge. Another great tool. Hey, thank you guys. I want to keep this short. We had great viewership this time again. I really appreciate that. And we'll post this on our blog. It'll be on YouTube in a few minutes, so you guys can check it out. But thanks for coming on This Week in Workforce Development, episode 6. We'll be doing episode 7 in 2 weeks, and looking forward to talking to you guys again. If you have questions, you can hit me up on Chatter. I'm on your guys' Chatter, as you know. You can email me, or you can hit me up on LinkedIn or Twitter. Ask questions. I'll ask them on the next episode of This Week in Workforce Development. All right, you guys, have a great holiday week.